Hello, I am Canon EOS photographer Randall and Rueff. Today is Tuesday, November the 26th, 2013 AD. It's important I say the date because this is going to be kind of a history lesson or session, if you will, of my own personal life and personal experiences in photography. This is my digital Rebel XT. Had this for several years, but I've had several cameras over the years, to say the least. And the majority of them have been film cameras. It's only this one and the one before it that were pop my neck and back. That were digital. Everything else before the last two cameras have been film. So, with that in mind, I thought I would tell you how much we've progressed. Not only going from film to digital, which is a big transformation in my lifetime, but some of the benefits to advanced technology. Now, one of the things with film cameras, especially in my pre-teens and early teens, one of the big issues in photography was the increasing or the improvement of film. That is, making the grains smaller, the film grains smaller, so the resolution, what we today call resolution, or the image quality was better, the grains were smaller, they were faster acting with light. How they did all that in chemistry, I don't know. I'm not a chemist, I can't explain it. But the point is, back in the day, it makes me feel old, but when I was a pre-teen, teenager, and especially in high school, when I was really starting to get into photography serious, I was on the yearbook staff as a photographer. One year, I was on the school newspaper my senior year. So back then and before then, I was taking classes. They had two photography classes at Columbus North High School in Columbus, Indiana, and I took both of them. And back then, the big issue again was film speed. Not only film speed, but film quality. Nowadays, it's megapixels. And looking back, the first really before it was digital SLR, they had SLR, and SLR cameras used film. The best, looking back, I had two cameras that were Minolta. Now, Minolta doesn't even make cameras today, so that tells you something. But they made SLR cameras. They were very good cameras. I remember Seth Turner was in charge of my junior year. He was in charge of the yearbook. He had experience doing photography and stuff, and he was the editor, or not the editor, but he was in charge of the photo department for the yearbook. And I was coming in, he was the photo guy, in charge of the photos. And he had a really nice camera, so eventually I wanted to get one just like it or similar. It didn't end up being as good as his, but it was real good as far as film, when I saved up my money. I mowed, in fact that was one of the big dilemmas when I bought my camera, was whether I was going to buy a computer or a camera. Because I wanted a Macintosh. Right at the end, I believe it was SE or SE30. It was more like the SE right before the SE30s came out. But I wanted a Macintosh, but I also wanted a camera. So I was kind of in conflict. Which one do I really want? The computer at the time was going to be about $2,800, $3,000, $3,200, depending on the hard drive. So when I saw the camera for like $700, I think it was $700, $650, something, I was like, I think we're going to go with the camera. And it was a film camera. It was autofocus, which was a new technology. In fact, if I remember right now, I could be wrong about this. If I remember right, there was only one. Today we have like 60 spots on the thing. A bunch of them cross-type, a bunch of them just for vertical, some for horizontal. And you have about 60 spots where, and you can even adjust where they are, the autofocus points are. Well, this camera came with one. It was right in the middle. So if you wanted to, let's say I want to focus on that, or something over here, or if I wanted to, let's say this camera right here that I'm poking at, if I wanted to focus on that, but put it on the side, well, as I focused here, and then screwed the camera over and took the picture this way. I wouldn't just like focus here. I had to, it took, wasn't a big deal, but you had to focus on the subject, and then censor your camera, or place your camera where you wanted it. Now, that's in autofocus. Now, manual focus, of course, you can do whatever, but autofocus was a lot faster, a lot easier, but it wasn't always accurate. especially in sports. But it was autofocus. It was neat. It was new technology. It was awesome. I loved it. But one of the things they did, okay, let me show you, for example, on this digital SLR, they've got manual, AV, TV, they got auto, they got one for portraits, landscape, flowers, sports, night portraits, no flash. I mean, they've got all kinds of settings that you can use. Plus, once in each setting, you can go in here, with the exception of auto, you can go in here and adjust how they work. Not the case with film camera. Not the case. What they had, and this was a professional camera, they had an auto setting, which was cool, which is what I used most of the time. They had, let's see, they had auto, they had a manual, and by manual I mean you could set the shutter speed, the aperture, just the shutter speed and the aperture. It's only because the ISO wasn't controlled by a camera. It was controlled by the film you used. So if you wanted to shoot 200 speed ISO, you had to use 200 speed film. So that meant 12, 24, 36, 48, or 60 shots in a roll. You had to use the whole roll on that speed. Now today, if I want to take one picture at, let's say 100 ISO, go somewhere else, take a picture of a 1600, all I gotta do is push a button or two, and I can change that ISO. But back then, no, you had to change. You had to either use your roll, or let's say you want to take 12 pictures in one place. Yeah, let's say you bought a 36 roll, thinking you're gonna take 36 pictures. You had to either, and you've shot 12 pictures, and now all of a sudden you want to go use 1600. You had two options: either you waste up, or use or waste, however you want to say it. Waste your film on something you don't really need. Well, what they did is they had a thing, like let's say on the bottom of your camera where you could push a button with like a paper clip or something, and you would push the button and it would rewind your film all the way. It would force rewind. Because normally what would happen is when it got to the last frame, it would automatically rewind. So, but what you could do is, there was a little button down here you could push on the SLR cameras, and you had to use like a paper clip or a pencil tip, and you would push it, and it would force rewind the whole film, so that you could develop your half roll or third roll. Then what you have to do is take it out, put it in the canister, put it on your belt or backpack or wherever you're carrying it, pull out your new roll, and put it in. And then you have a different ISO. And again, you can control the aperture manually, the size of, which is the size of the opening, or the shutter speed. And again, the ISO was controlled by the film. Nowadays, like I said, nowadays all you do is push a button or two, boom, change it. No big deal. That's why we love digital. Even this simple one that's out of date. But it still works good, so I'm not griping. So that's one thing. Now the lenses I had back then were the 28 to 70 and a 70 to 210. Those were the two lenses that came with the camera. 28 to 70, 70 to 210. Plus I also bought a 400 eventually for sports, and it really came in my I think my senior years. If I remember right, I remember buying it. This is maybe a little bit inaccurate, but I believe I bought it, I'm guessing, the summer before my senior year, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong about that. I may have bought it before then, but I remember using it my senior year. I know I used it my senior year. So I had it all my senior year. I may have had it before then. I don't remember exactly, but I think I bought it the summer before my senior year. But the 400, which is the biggest lens anybody in the school had. Even Seth Turner didn't have one that was 400. So I was like, woohoo, I got the biggest lens. Yeah, no, moving on. Next subject. But it was a great lens. I loved it. And I even got an award with it, taking a baseball picture, which we'll talk about later in the video. But anyway, so what they did, for example, now one of the other things that I want to talk about is some of these settings. So you had, with a SLR, the Minolta, you had an auto setting, you had the manual setting, where you could do, you could set your, what they called aperture priority, and then you had your shutter priority. or we can do them manually. So you can set your shutter manually, your aperture manually, or you can put like a shutter priority where you can do, so you want to shoot at 500th of a second, and then it would adjust based on your film speed. It would adjust the aperture, or you could set aperture priority, and it would adjust based on your film speed. It would adjust your shutter speed, and so those are basically the modes. However, one of the things it didn't have was like a sports mode, where it autofocuses and it would, so where you can get the fastest shutter speed possible. That's all. For sports, it's a good thing because it has a sports mode where, like I said, it continually focuses, plus it's going to shoot at the fastest speed that it can do because it knows you want to freeze the image. Well, it didn't have that mode, but what it did have is similar to like this. It had a little door that popped out, and in that little door was a slit on the top of it. It'd be like this, opening up, and there'd be a little slit. And what it was is you could buy these little, basically like SD cards that were about that big, about an inch and a half by maybe 3/4 or a ½ inch, and you could slide these cards that had microchip inside. You would slide them in this way, close the door, and then you had access to what was called, these were called specialty cards. They had one for sports action, which is the one I bought. I bought two, if I remember right. Sports action was the main one I bought. But they were like $20 or $30. I don't remember how much exactly they were. But anyway, chips. Nowadays, this is all stuff built into the camera. But at the time, it wasn't. So you put this card in, you push the button. There was a button on the little door. There were a couple buttons right here you push. Shut the door. There was stuff on the back you could push to get the card to work. And what it did, then it would, when you went into, you had a little dial to go into that mode. And when you went into that mode, it would continually focus and it would shoot at the fastest shutter speed possible. Of course, you could open the door, pop the card out, and not use it, or you could put in, there was like 5, I don't remember what they all were, but there was like 5 or 6 different cards you could buy to put in there that did different things. But the sports one is the one I remember buying because at school we did sports. We did basketball and softball and football, and so sports was something we did. Now, back in the day, the camera I had only had 3 frames per second, and that's with film. So it wasn't cheap. It was time consuming, and when you're shooting fast moving sports, you're hoping that you get a good shot with the autofocus. Plus, a lot of times, I remember one time I wanted to use flash inside the gymnasium to do gymnastics, and I took a picture. There was one of the first pictures I took of gymnastics. This girl's running down the thing. I'm shooting, and after she's done doing it, she's like, "I can't see." I mean, basically, she came over. She's like, "Dude, he flashed me with his camera. And I couldn't see what I was doing." I mean, she did it and landed it, but she's like, "I couldn't see what I was doing." He flashed it. So the coach was like, "Come here, can't use your flash in here anymore." I'm like, "Okay, cool." Wasn't happy at the time because he's like, "I know you guys can use your film speed, blah blah blah. You don't have to have flash in here." Well, truth is, I didn't have any. All I had was 100 speed. It's Mr. Stelting, if anybody knows, the red hair guy at Coach at North. Anyway, he's like, "I know you guys don't have to have flash in here," which is true if I had the right film speed, but I didn't have the right speed. All I had was 400, and what I needed was 1600 or 3200, which I didn't have any. But I was like, anyway, that's a long story. That's one of the things I remember, though. I was upset, he was upset, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so I did the best I could with what I had at the time, which was 400 speed. But anyway, again, nowadays I can just take it to the camera, push a few buttons, and be done, or even auto. You can even set it to auto, and it would set the best. Anyway, we've come a long way. That's one of the things I remember. So let's see. Let's think what else. Plus, okay, here's another thing. The batteries for the camera, for the SLR, for the Minolta, were NC5 or NC, I don't remember what they're, but they were a specialty battery. They weren't AA. You couldn't recharge them, and they were like $10, $12 a pop. And they didn't last that long. I remember, Seth Turner, I don't know what he did or what he wasn't doing, but he said his lasted a long time. Mine did. Never lasted as long as his did. I don't know what he was doing special, or if his camera just had better power management, or what the deal was. but the batteries did not last that long, and you definitely couldn't recharge them. There was no recharger to recharge that kind of battery. You could recharge A's, C's, D's, but it was a specialty battery. It was like this big, about that thin, and it was just, it was a pain in the butt. Nowadays, of course, I can take my camera, got rechargeables, and this is an old camera. The newer ones even have better battery life and better battery consumption, and their power, it's so much even better than what I've got. But the main point is, back then they weren't rechargeable. Today they are rechargeable, and it makes it so much easier. Because these specialty batteries ate up, oh my gosh, it was unreal. It was like, I mean, my main thing was one, the film cost money, two, the batteries are as expensive, and it's just, it drove me nuts. It did. I mean, literally, it was like, because I didn't have a lot of money back in the day. Don't have a lot of money now, but my point is, I had even less to spend money, the money I needed. So I was just like, now that I got something that's rechargeable, I just, it's so much better. I thank the good Lord above for rechargeable technology. Because I've had these batteries forever. Not forever, but for several years, to say the least. And I'm glad to have them. Let me think what else I can tell you. The flash was pretty much the same. I mean, obviously, flash technology. The one camera I had a built-in flash where it was like right there. It was just built in. It didn't pop up. There was no pop up. It was just like, and then the next one I had would have the little, like this does, as a pop up. Of course, they all had the thing where you put the big flash on, which was, but there's a lot of times with that big flash in the old days, it just, it didn't work. You know, you see them on TV where they shoot off 20 or 40 or 50 frames. The paparazzi flashes really, you don't get that unless you have an external battery pack. Trust me. So there was that. I didn't have an external battery pack, and I mean, you could get 3 or 4, 5, maybe 6 shots off in a row if you were trying to get something real fast before the flash would have to, it'd make a noise, and you knew it was recharging, or the flash cycles would, in a few seconds you could use the flash again. So there's that. But we've come a long way, baby, and I'm glad I've got what I've got. I wish I had something even better, and hopefully I'll be able to upgrade this sometime soon. But I mean, sorry. First camera I had was one of those, I don't even know what they're called. I call it 110. Next one I had was a flash, disc camera. Granny got me for Christmas. Granny and Papa got me for Christmas 1 year, and then I had, then I got the Minolta, the 2 Minoltas. Then I got the first digital camera, which is the CD1000. It was a Mavica, and now I've got the Canon EOS, which is the best camera I've ever owned for many reasons, and I love it. But it's out of date. I mean, there's so many things I could do if I had a 1DX or 1DC, as far as speed, resolution. I can't do near what I'd like to be able to do as far as the resolving power of the camera, plus low light capabilities, plus speed. This does 3 frames per second, and it's not bad, but there's so much better I could do if I just had the money and resources. But I'm glad to have what I've got. It's a good camera. It's lasted me a long time, and I really enjoy it. So it's just amazing in my life, just in my lifetime. And I'm 40 years old now, to see where we've been, where we're at now, and I can only imagine as time goes on how much better and faster, lightweight, more lightweight, and all the features that are going to come in time. So looking forward to seeing, you know, I love photography. I love the technology side of it. I love the artistic side of it. I love the comedy side of it. As a creator of the Randall Rueff comic strip, I love the comedy side of it and the inspirational side of it. I mean, it's really neat art form that I love and I'm enthusiastic about and I'm passionate about. And I just want to make this little video kind of say, you know what, here's where we've been, here's where we are, and I'm looking forward to where we're going. So, until next time, I'm Canon EOS photographer, Randall Rueff, saying thanks for watching, have a good day, and may God bless you. And as always, keep taking those pictures.